Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Sorry, let me get the... No, I don't want to mute. Yikes. Okay. That'll do. I have an idea. Desktop audio down. I'll leave that there. Hello. Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you've had a wonderful week. My week has been... Oh, boy. One of those weeks where... Yo! Thank you for 4 months. Also 3 months, JJ. Yeah, Lizzie's making fun of me. It's definitely been one of those weeks where... just nothing goes quite the way that you want it to. A lot of time sinks that you just didn't anticipate. I guess that's how it goes sometimes. I got to do some stuff. I messed with the HUD a little bit earlier in the week. That's progressing along nicely. Yo, thank you for 22 months, CP. Wow, almost 2 years. 17 months. Thank you very much, brought to you by Q. Very cool stuff. Let's see, now I've got a good volume for, I can hear the alerts much better now. Here's what I'm gonna do. Put this down low. I'm gonna crank this up a little bit. So the alerts maybe were never at fault, at least when they actually play the way that they're supposed to. That's too loud. Not the alerts, the music. Let's see. There we go. How's that volume? Maybe just a little bit lower. Yo, my gosh. Twiz, thank you for the gifted subs. CP, thank you for 5 gifted subs. Thank you for 12 months, Finn. Jeez, yeah, we got a streak going, I believe. My gosh. Choo-choo. That's right. We're gonna do a Wind Waker OST. Wind Wasker? Wind Waker OST. Full soundtrack. 3 hours long. That's what I'm talking about. Beautiful intro, of course. I think that's a good level. Oh man, thank you guys so much for the hype train. Much appreciated. Yeah, so this week was kind of gnarly. I got to do some suggestions, then I ran into some trouble just trying to organize them. So I went to reorganize the labels, which has turned into quite the task, but I'm pretty happy with where it's at now. I still got some work to do. We're probably going to do a fair amount of that on stream today. We're going to go over some of the suggestions that have already been processed because I have to adjust their labels. So we're going to do that, and then just, you know, go through your mod suggestions. That was what my big task for this week was supposed to be. One of the other reasons why this week has been kind of gnarly is I'm in the process of, I'm trying to spin a lot of plates at the moment. I think I mentioned this in one of the previous streams, but one of my core freelance bits now is voice acting, or attempting to be anyway. I've gotten, you know, I have like some consistent work, but I'm trying to up that. And it's been kind of an issue because, you know, I live in an apartment and there's various sounds here and there. And so I'm kind of working in the meantime on I'm looking at my closet, you guys can't see it. But I'm basically trying to tear up my entire closet and turn it into a makeshift vocal booth. Because I don't want to pay $5-6 grand for the vocal booths that are out there that look really cool. Wow, that's crazy, Daryl. Hope you don't mind if I call you Daryl. Suggestions 100% approval rate, huh? Not bad. Yeah, so I'm trying to build, at the same time I'm trying to build this kind of vocal booth situation over here. I'm also trying to redo kind of the rest of my room because it's an older design. It's actually, I originally designed this office for when I was going to do primarily like YouTube stuff that really I just kind of ended up kind of not wanting to make. It was going to be like a, you know, almost like a Let's Play studio, and it's really well set up for that, but I don't make that kind of stuff, so it's kind of a waste of space. What else? Oh, I love this song. Hold on, I'm going to turn it up a little bit. This is the intro to Wind Waker. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah, I'm also trying to like externalize my work onto my laptop so that I'm able to be a little bit more mobile and work remotely. So there's that. Plus, at the same time, we are... It's a little bit too loud. Just trying to set up... I'm trying to open up different revenue streams for Wildlander as well. I'm kind of working on... I think I mentioned the pseudo, like, early access situation that I'm working on, where anyone who's scared by that, don't worry, everything's completely terms of service compliant. But basically you would gain access to, like, the build files would be free for everybody, but you would gain access to, like, you know, the instructions and the support and whatever as a way to hopefully incentivize some patronage. So we're trying to do a bunch of different stuff right now, and it's just... And then also just things happened this week where it took up a bunch of time and I couldn't really anticipate anything that happened and all the time that it would suck away. But, you know, sometimes your time just gets sucked off, and that's what you got to do. You just got to roll with the punches. Not something I'm great at, something I'm trying to get better about. That's I mean, not like it's that strong of a reference, but y'all know Ben Garrison by chance? The, like, hyper-conservative cartoonist? When... This is before kind of like the mass, what you might say, certain type of person banning, I don't know how to put it, from, like, Twitter or whatever. I won't get too into it. But he... Oh my god, it was so funny. And this is, like... It's just funny because this is a person, regardless of, like, political inclination or whatever, who takes themselves pretty seriously, I think. And so if you remember back in, like, 2021, I want to say, you know, there was kind of like a bunch of bans being issued on places like Twitter, and a bunch of his followers got banned. And he tweeted that he angrily tweeted that Twitter just sucked off a bunch of his followers. And everyone was like, yo, choo choo. That was just, oh my god, it's just so funny to me. And then of course, like, he deleted the tweet later once someone, because this dude's probably, like, you know, mid 50s to late 50s, maybe early 60s, I don't know, but it was just the funniest fucking thing. It's just like the kind of shit that, you know, when someone says something really unintentionally funny, and especially when they're, like, mad and, like, riled up, it just kind of, you know, neuters the seriousness of whatever it is they're upset about. Yeah, that's funny to me. says, oh man, Twitter sucked off 500 of my followers. Those 500 followers are like, yo, what's up? Outset Island. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and just dive right in, right? And I can show you kind of what I've been working on. I'm really trying to make this Trello board like super sick and organized, and Lizzie's already done so much work to build this whole thing out. We've kind of been working on it in tandem, and she put in labels as placeholders, and I've been supposed to, you know, adjust them since forever. And finally I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna be going through all these heckin' things, I might as well actually do it. So I've learned some things about Trello as well, some little sick tips and whatnot. So I'll show you what I've been doing. Now I have, let me see here, this is gonna be a lot. Let's open up this card. I can just kind of give you an example. So I have a lot of labels, right? I'm gonna show you, in order to show all of them, because I don't know if, my wife was making this point, I don't know if you're supposed to use labels quite like this. We have a lot of them. So you have a few categories, right? That I have here. Okay, that's all of them. Now it's going to be very laggy because we're loading in lots of labels. But here's the kind of basic categories that I have, right? And the way that I'm actually going to organize these is one of the things I wanted to do, I've been trying to figure out, like, what's the most efficient way to use this Trello, and specifically labels are a huge part of the workflow, and I love the colors, and I love being able to visually recognize, you know, what's what at a glance. What I kind of wanted was, I know that I'm not probably going to remember the specific labels a lot of the time. Right now I do, because I've been making all of them, right? But I know what the categories correspond to, and I was looking for a way to, like, when I want to assign a label to something, just bring up, you know, all the labels of a certain category. Turns out you can do that. You actually, it's not what you call intuitive. I had to kind of dig to find this. But if you search by number in this little sort box here, it will show you all of the labels that you have that correspond to that number. So for example, 2, I don't have any in 1 right now. I need to go through and kind of adjust it. 2 is everything that's like yellow, right? 3 is this orange. 4 are the red ones. The organization of that is based on this, right? So you got this kind of green is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. That's fine. This is like a, you know, not a very important note, but I wish very badly that I could reorganize which numbers correspond to what, because these are my favorite colors. It's this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. And I wish I could make those like number. Like right now, the general like visuals category, right, is pink, which I think is great for visuals. I think it looks really pretty. These are like the colors that Lizzie chose. I don't know if she had any particular vision in mind for it, but I think it looks really nice. And I wish I could keep it pink, but it's kind of annoying to hit 9 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anyway, neither here nor there. This is kind of what I've been working on. I have, here's like a slightly, this is an actual bug, is they only recently added these color variations, right? Like the light and the dark. And that's because they kind of redid how the labels appear. Unfortunately, I think there's a legitimate bug in which any label assigned to either one of these colors will not show up when you do that thing that I just did and try and sort by numbers. I can give you an example of that. Oh, this is the sword training. So let's do, here, easy one. Gameplay and mechanics. This is like the label header. If I change this to dark yellow, we'll say, right? And then I hit 2. Unfortunately, that one no longer shows up. And I actually reported a bug. I'm hoping that it gets fixed, but so I can use some of the other colors, because I love colors, y'all. If you've been watching me do the HUD work, you know that colors and color theory. Listen to this. Wow, they even like include the sounds of you hitting the thing in the song. Oh, you know what? I bet you. Wow, I just had an idea. Dev thingy. I bet you that... Has anyone ever played Wind Waker? I'm assuming, yes. You know that sequence where the swords guy is teaching you how to fight? That's how the... Ouch, Lizzie. That must be how the music in the background syncs with your sword hits. Is they're, like, restarting the track, I bet you, every time you get the attack in, to make it sound or give you the vibe that it feels like you're almost hitting it on beat. That's very cool. I like that a lot. So you're essentially creating a new first beat every time you hit properly, the way you're supposed to. I bet you that's how it works. Okay, well, so with all that said, here's hella labels. Yeah, I know, I'm a pretty classic kind of, what do they call it, like ADHD archetype. I've got lots of ideas, and getting them all organized and doing them is the difficult part. You know, I'm the, like, idea guy, you know? It's like you leave all the details and, like, doing the work to somebody else. That's cool, JJ. I love little stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, here's what we're going to be doing. So I've gone through a lot of, you know, oh, that's loud. Here. Shush. I wish these were equalized somewhat, but I guess not. That's probably too low. Okay, I'm going to, here, keep having to adjust. Bring the desktop audio way down. That way I have a little bit more room to play with this. Yes, trying to fit a gallon of water in a 12-ounce glass is a great analogy. I've never heard that before, but it's very apt. This really is the full soundtrack. This is like cutscenes and everything. Loud. Okay, so I can show you guys some, like, kind of the label categories here, how this works. And the reason I'm even showing this to you, I'm going to have like a primer, a tutorial for this, either on the roadmap page. This whole thing is being built out for the roadmap page because we get a lot of questions about upcoming features and what we want to do with X mechanic, or if we have any plans for Y. So this is all part of kind of corralling that. Hopefully it's a better experience for both the users and for us, because for us, we spend less time answering the same questions, and for users, you don't have to spend your valuable time like asking and waiting for a reply, or you can just kind of check what's going on and know what our plans are. Because also sometimes, like, other users will reply, right? And they're well-meaning and they're trying to help, but there's no unified repository for the information, so it's kind of hard to, you know, figure out where to put it, or figure out what's the truth. We need a, as they say in the tech world, a unified source of truth from a database perspective. So that's what the purpose of all of this is. So let's take a look at these labels, shall we? So you have, this category is what I call gameplay and mechanics, and here I'll adjust this so that we can see it again. Gameplay and mechanics basically refer... It's actually kind of a mirror of how the mod organizer is organized, roughly. Yo, how you doing, Conrad? So, if you're familiar with that organization, this will probably look similar. But, you know, gameplay and mechanics is just anything, any mod that relates to one of these many kind of mechanics or systems in some way. My goal for all of these categories is to, like, this one has way more than most of the other ones do. I want a level of specificity where, you know, you can see the individual kind of, I guess, subcategory that a mod fits into, and also using the color you can see what sort of mod this is, right? So, for example, and of course, like, you know, mods can have multiple tags and whatever, but this is, God, alright, this is cute, like the battle music and whatever. I would like to just get to the songs. Can we just do the songs? Is there a playlist that has... So that's definitely what they're doing, by the way, what we anticipated before. Okay, fencing instructor, beetle shot, mysterious bird attacks, Tetra discover, forest of outset, battle, and counterattack arrows, grandma's theme. Okay, so I think we'll start here, because these are less... I'm switching to grandma's theme, because, I don't know, man, even just hearing the first notes of the song makes me so sad, it gives me chills. I don't know if any of you remember this section of Wind Waker, and then I promise we'll continue talking about this. Where this song plays is you've been away from your island for a long time, right? You left your grandma, and your poor grandma, so she's like the caretaker of you and your little sister. Your little sister gets kidnapped by the big old bird right in the middle of the oh, I guess it's kind of like the opening sequence, tutorial sequence, and that's the hook for like the rest of the game, right? Is that you're going off to save your sister. So your grandma is worried about your sister because she's been kidnapped by a giant evil bird, and you, her older brother, are now leaving the island to go rescue her, which is an obvious necessity. But your grandma's just losing this. Both of you are gone, and it's really sad. She's all sweet about it too, but you can tell she's sad. Anyway, this song, I'm like tearing up because I was like raised primarily by my grandma, right? So this is very, gets to my heart. So you leave, and then at some point you can come back, you know, once you have the King of Red Lions, you can sail back to Outset Island. And I think it's when you need to get the shield or something like that. And you go into your grandma's house, and she's asleep, and this song, she's like asleep in her rocking chair. This song is playing, and she's saying like, oh no, like, Link and what's the sister's name? Errol, like, please don't leave me like all alone. And she's so like sad and lonely, and it's so sad. I just want to like, ugh. Oh, and this is when you sail away, not the Enya song. I want so badly in that moment to just, it always felt so callous to me that you like, oh, you can cheer her up? Wait, what? Because I was about to say that I always felt so bad. No, I didn't know this. Oh my god, I almost feel so much better now. Because I always thought it was so sad how you basically just have to, like, you go there, you see her. She's very sad, and she's asleep, and she's, like, having a nightmare, essentially. And you just kind of leave. You don't even tell her that you like came to visit. It'd be like you go to visit your elderly grandparents, and they live far away, so you don't see them tremendously often. You show up there, they're asleep, and instead of like gently waking them to say hello, you just leave. And I always thought that was so sad. But you give her a fairy and she wakes up. Can I look this up? Actually, no, I'm not going to look it up because every single video I've done lately has gotten demonetized, and I really need that ad revenue money. I left grandma in despair. I'm so sad. But at least I know that you can revive her. Oh. Can you get the soup otherwise if you don't? Because I've definitely gotten the soup before. So maybe I have done this and I just forgot? Maybe it was when I was little. I love this song too. This is like Nico's theme, like the Pirates theme. Wind Waker's so good. I love it. Ugh, this fucking chat. This YouTube chat's really... I watched... Finn sent me a video by Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD, about... Why is this... It's like the wrong channel. Whoops. Yo, thank you for 10 months. Nod and Elves. Yeah, need to see. Oh, and Finn, I think I said thank you. I think I did. So Finn sent me this video. It's basically just about YouTube has like a really intense like spam problem, right? And it kind of seems like they're not super keen on doing much about it. Hide user in this channel. And they really need, what they don't have is like a way to block accounts that have the same stuff in the name, because like this is the one that hits us every time. So if you guys don't mind chatting a bunch to get the shit out of the way, I appreciate it every time. That, 'cause I'm gonna have to sit here and like monitor it same way I have with every other stream. But yeah, anyway, let's go through these categories. I promise I'll focus. Hold me to it. So yeah, this is your gameplay and mechanics anything related to... It's almost kind of a sneak preview of all the different sort of sectors that we want to expand upon. Also, some of these mechanics are obviously in the game, like as it is already. What else do we got? 3 is what I call the interface and controls section. So you can kind of think of this as UI, UX, and controls, which I kind of, you know, lump. I mean, controls even are technically UX, so you could even just look at it as UI and UX. So we have anything that adjusts the camera, the controls for either the gamepad or the keyboard, anything that adjusts the HUD or the interface in some way, and then anything that is applicable to the movement handler. So like a good example of movement would be movement behavior overhaul or true directional movement, or there are other, like even like there's that one mod that dynamically adjusts your speed based on like the scroll wheel or something, right? So, you know, oh yeah, the chat's okay. I just am trying to do it for the sake of the VOD to get it out of there. Yeah, maybe. Madison, I don't know. It's like, it seems weird to me. It does seem like they could get rid of it pretty easily, but you never know. That's another thing I've been getting really annoyed by, and if you'll allow me this little aside, then we'll cover... Okay, actually, you know what? No. Categories first, then remind me to complain about Adobe, because I will. I'll be happy to. 4, or this category, right, is what I call system and bug fixing. So these are things like, you know, code bases and frameworks, right? Like frameworks that allow us to do other stuff. A good example of this would be like Papyrus Util, which if you're not familiar, that is a set of functions that's an addition to the scripting engine that allow you to use console commands as scripted input. The obvious example of this is SKSE, right? Anything that is SKSE is a script engine extender. It provides more ways to, you know, code with Papyrus. Bug fixes is obvious, quality of life improvements obvious, performance improvements obvious. So these ones are pretty simple. They're just kind of like, think like technical and system, right? Let's see here. 5. So this one's all about location expansions. I specifically define expansion. One of the things that takes kind of a while is just defining these categories and making sure that they are both comprehensive and also not like overlapping ideally, right? Like obviously there are going to be certain mod types that will have multiple tags like across several different categories, but they should be pretty prescriptive. Ugh, cutscene. Please just give me, maybe I'll just put fucking Dragon Roost Island on for 30 minutes. This is when you go into Forsaken Fortress. Come on. Can I like hide the rec? I hate when I like put YouTube in half screen. I have to scroll down to get to the comments. Inside Forsaken Fortress, imprisonment, reunion with sister, meeting Ganondorf, rendezvous with the ship, Windfall Island, baby. Boom. Forsaken Fortress does slap. That's fair. You know what? Okay, fine. Here, you can have the actual level theme. Oh, this is the invasion, or this is not the level? Wow, there's so many tracks. Look at this. Okay, yeah, these are the invasion cutscenes. So here's the actual level soundtrack, I want to say. Yeah, Forsaken Fortress is gnarly. Yeah, so here you have all the expansions. So this is like anything that... We're not talking like new items. We're not talking new characters, anything of that sort. We're talking adding pre-existing things, like adding stuff, adding new buildings or whatever to locations, right? So cities and towns, dungeon expansions, interior location expansions. Misk World is just like, you know, anything that kind of adds some detail to a random spot out in the world that doesn't really fit into those other categories. And then player homes, of course. Player horns. Yeah, step means deprecated. Daryl. That is, it feels weird saying Daryl instead of, you know. But yes, the deprecated tag means that I need to go through those and remove them from other things. Those are older tags that I'm getting rid of. What's up, GP? How you doing? Player horns. There are player horns now. Oh, that sucks. Kalak. That is really... Yeah, I mean, everyone's had a group project where someone was just like a dead weight. It's not nice, not fair, not kind. So that's those. What else we got? Oh, 6 is all about new additions, right? Like new items, spells, enemy types. So you just have, you know, anything. This would be like a cool new sword or cool armor. Things of that nature. Cool new backpacks would be like gear. Cool clothes. What else we got? Oh, this is trying to rescue your sister, I think. 7, actually, I'm going to deprecate this entire category because these things just aren't distinct enough thus far to justify themselves, I think. Like, maybe I could have like an immersion tag, but it just feels like that would almost apply to everything, depending on how you look at it, and that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. So what else we got? 8 is new stories and NPCs. So the reason that I have them categorized this way is that this is stuff that tries to add additional story content, which basically means 2 things. You basically need these 2 things in order to qualify for this category. You need like additional voice lines, whether it's, you know, completely original VA or something like VA synth, or even cut together. The ideal one is cut together pre-existing lines. That's where the champion Jay Serpa comes into play. Do you guys know this? I don't actually know if you do, but Jay Serpa, the modder, good friend of the project, he's like best in class at cutting together different like voice lines, pre-existing voice lines, to make like whole new dialogue, which obviously avoids a lot of the awkwardness that you experience with XVA synth, right? Yeah, mad splicer. It's nuts. Missives are going well, Meloro. Lizzie could tell you more. I think she's around, but I also think she has to work. But Lizzie's just been cranking on it in the meantime while I work on this other stuff. She's doing a fantastic job. I'm definitely going to be the bottleneck between this and my work on religion, but it's coming along nicely. I mean, really the good missives, you might say, is like, if you remember that categorization, they're mostly done. Yes, Lizzie has given we have like a couple of testers who've been testing just the various new quest types and, you know, providing feedback based on that and like balance and stuff like that. So we made like a couple adjustments, but really not much. So yeah, oops, that was not my intent. So yeah, this category is anything that requires like writing or voice acting. That's obviously like a very particular area. It's tough to do well, and I have you know, I'm kind of particular about that stuff. So yeah, no kidding. It is gone extremely well. Geez, like for how complex it is, Lizzie, the idea that you've gotten the feedback you've gotten and so few bugs is really nuts. I hesitate to even give that out, Hector Stone. I would like to hit Q4, right? But even that's not guaranteed. Oh yeah, I know all about the XP mods, Kalak. I mean, I think all the experience mods are super cool, just none of them work quite the way that I want experience to work, so that's gonna be one of the big proprietary kind of feature sets. That's gonna be 2.0.0. That's the skill system that I've talked about often in streams. Oh yeah, and then 9, I was like, what is this? 9 is visuals, right? So visuals is probably the second biggest category behind mechanics. Some of these, this one has more deprecated categories than any other ones. Like this one's deprecated, this one's deprecated. So is this one. And is that all of them that are deprecated? And this one's deprecated. So there will be less, but generally speaking, this should cover everything. And the last category is kind of what I call like miscellaneous tags, right? Like that's the header here. A lot of these are deprecated as well, so like most of them, even this one, God, it's so laggy, I guess, when there's this many. But this one's deprecated, this one, this one, this one, that one, and this one. So the rest are just like, wait, like this is an easy way for me to tag. It's like, oh, this is related to Riften, because sometimes it's nice to be able to kind of collate all the Riften mods, the Solitude mods, right? It's also nice being able to tag stuff that is like, now that we have the new mod list drop down, we can add, I spoke about this in the last stream, but we can add mods that are not necessarily performant, mods that look really good, but most people aren't going to be able to run them, or even no one can run them without like a decent, you know, impact. We can add those kinds of things because the mod list drop down and the functionality allows us to, you know, have them be optional. People don't have to run it if they don't want to. Are we not going to do any player races? Depends on what you mean. You mean like totally new races, Toby? If so, likely not. Or at least it's not something that's very important to me personally. Not only does it take a lot of patching and effort to try and like make stuff work with non-vanilla races, but I think that you already have like 10 races to choose from, so there's a lot of variety that's there. And what's more interesting to me is, you know, building on what exists and making it more interesting and deep. And the other issue, lore friendliness. You know, lore friendly stuff is, it's not the highest priority. Like, if there's something that's not technically lore friendly, but I think it's awesome, then I'd probably put it in, at least in the abstract. Can't really think of any examples. But if something is like particularly not, it's usually not a lack of lore friendliness that excludes mods. It's more like this doesn't feel vanilla quality, right? Yeah, so there's all like the sub races of like Argonian and Khajiit, which is like, that's cool. I'd be, you know, if it were simple enough to add, and if they meaningfully like added to the experience, then I could be convinced. I guess it really is case to case. You would have to show me. Thus far, the only like race additions, like whole new race additions that I've seen are usually related to Khajiit. Frankly, most of them have been like furry, I think, created mods, which is not a bad thing. I mean, furries they're very passionate. They can make some very high quality stuff. But the ones that I've seen are like there's one where it's like you can be like a half cat girl or something, and everyone's like, yeah, I love this. I'm like, this one's not really for me, which is nothing against cat girls. It's kind of like a weird spot. Ancient Falmer's an interesting one. And that's probably like one of the stronger concepts that I've seen. Lost Races of Aetherius, huh? Has anyone suggested that before? So yeah, that's the categories, by the way, and now we'll just go through and then adjust what's there. I'm going through these, the ones that I've already sorted, because that way I'm not missing any. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, actually here. It's the Nexus, so. Fun, bot. It actually is really frustrating, if I'm honest with you guys, like this bot stuff. It's just very like, why is this a problem still? Whoops. Why can I not scroll? Here we go. Put user in timeout. Hide user in this channel. I guess it only recently, now when you hide a user from the channel, it like retroactively goes through and removes anything they've said. It didn't used to do that before, which is insane to me. Like, come on, guys. This is like basic stuff here. I don't know. Yeah, it seems pretty crap. Not ideal. What was I doing? See, I'm easily distractible at the best of times. The bots don't help. Races of Aetherius. Well, let's see if it's been suggested here. Nope, maybe not. Aetherius, a race overhaul. Is this Great Peninsula? Oh, interesting. Oh, it's Simon's. I guess you just said that, didn't you? Well, that's pretty good. I mean, if I could count on anyone to make like a very solid, high quality, polished race overhaul, it would be Simon, for certain. Nature of these bonuses. Raise Argonian, Breton, Dark Elf, High Elf, Imperial, Khajiit, Nord, Orc, Redguard, Wood Elf. Unarmed. Oh, it's an extension. Wait. Oh, Lost Races of Aetherius. Sorry. Actually, you know what? Nope, definitely not doing that. Nexus is not quite safe to browse just on stream like that. That's another thing. I don't envy their... I bet it's pretty tough. Yep, literally when I search that, I've got like... Well, maybe not entirely not safe for work. Lost Races of Aetherius. Oh, it's Tate Taylor. Well, another high quality one, I'm sure. Let's see here. We got extension. So this helps because they just kind of, you know, they clearly look like vanilla. Oh, wow, Dwemer. So yeah, the Heartland Elf, Aliad, these are lost races. One of my issues with this would be, like, is no one gonna comment on the fact that you are, you know, a race that's been lost to time? Like, maybe the idea is that people wouldn't notice necessarily, but I feel like people do, like, in universe. So I don't know. Interesting idea, though. Yeah, you're an extinct race strutting about. That's kind of exactly how I regard it. Alright, so last night I got down to... here? Follower Combat Product? I did that one. Imperious Races did that one. Joy of Perspective. I did do... Okay, wait. Mannequins, Missives, Movement. I think this was the last one I did. Okay, Nightfall. Audio and Sounds. That one's already. That's cool. Let's go... we'll just get rid of you. Done. So this is all the declined category, if you are curious. Oh yeah, and a few of these I have to... I had a different account that I switched my... like, all my permissions over to this one, because it uses my proper email. So I gotta delete my own comments here, and I would like to replace them. Whoa. Source. Save, delete... Quiet Dog. I'm going to call this Audio and Sounds. And we're going to also do Quality of Life. So you guys will get kind of a sense of how this works. And I'm actually, whoopsie, I'm trying not to, scary music, include the headers for now. It would be really nice if, like, I could just kind of have you guys sort by the color category without necessarily needing to include this. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to include it on every single one with one of the sub-categories applying, and it'll just be annoying. What's happening about jobs? What are the mods subject to be implemented? Well, so Lizzie's Missives expansion is kind of what you might call the core of jobs. There's also quite a few that are like get jobs, like random kind of missive style things from random people. There's some bard mods that are probably going to make it in there. And then there's also like a couple of bespoke like jobs systems mods that are really big maybes. They're cool conceptually, but I think they're kind of wonky in implementation, and they've not gotten updates in a long time, so it's been a while. I need to go and look at those again. But with Lizzie's Missives updates alone, there's like tons of non-violent stuff for people to do. Okay. Look at all these. Wow, this is like sound effects too, not just songs. Let's see here. Ragged Cat, Baker Cat Fix. Declined. Yo, thank you for 24 months. I'm your Greg. My god, 2 years. Why doesn't it say 2 years? Nice. Thank you so much. That's crazy. Perfect. This is my favorite song in the game, by the way. Deleting a wait. No, I don't need to do that one. That one was me. Oops. Tiny Mod fixes the clipping on the ragged cap. So this one would be... You could call that a bug fix, I suppose. You can also call it item visuals, item and object visuals. Requiem, static skill leveling experience suggestion. I'm gonna capitalize these. Let's see here. This one would be skills, perks, and leveling. And then I can remove this. Perfect. Yeah, other Dylan Perry. How long has Wildlander been around in its entirety? Oh my gosh. Conrad, there's a couple of streams. Like if you go and look on my YouTube channel, they're mentioned in like the title, the ones where we really dig into the missives. Yeah, I mean about that. If we go from the very first version of Ultimate Skyrim that was downloadable and like installable, I want to say early 2017. I think. But I don't know. I want to say that it's either late 2016. This was long before Automaton as well. Automaton was not, that was April of 2019, I want to say. So let's say, in fact, here, maybe I can check. If you guys ask me questions, I'll get distracted if I find them fun and interesting. Let's go Ultimate Skyrim. And maybe can I sort by oldest? Whoa, what the hell? No. Filter. Title contains Ultimate Skyrim. Excuse me. Oh, it's taking a while. I guess I probably have a lot of videos, huh? Wow, it's taking a long time. Yeah. Forgotten Past. How long was 3.4? It was quite a while. It was like sometime through 2018, mid to late 2018. Sort by date. Thank you, Asha, Cloud Phoenix, for 5 months. Much appreciated. Let's see here. Ultimate Skyrim, Roguelike Requiem. So yeah, the original Ultimate Skyrim like intro video that I published was the 16th of September 2016, and that was not even, I wasn't even supposed to like get the, wait, what? That can't be right. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. That makes sense. I was not even, this was not even supposed to be like, installable by anyone else. This was before I kind of anticipated that people would want that, which is funny. What the hell? Unable to display some videos. I'm trying to find something that would indicate when I like made it available for everybody. It's really fun to go look through these though. I got Hilfred, I got Armand here. Come on. Oh yeah, okay. Here we go. So 19th of March 2017. Manual 1.0? What is this? Let's watch this, shall we? I'll get demonetized by myself. Is this going to be an embarrassing video? I hope not. Here you go.
Hey there guys, I'm very pleased to announce that the 1.0 version of Ultimate Skyrim is officially out. This is obviously a very big deal to me, and thank you guys so much for all of your support alongside this whole project. I really couldn't have done it without you. Check the description below. You'll see the link to the Ultimate Skyrim website. It's the first edition of the manual. It's mainly just the mod list and some other small little bits of information that you'll need. Obviously, it will change a lot over the next coming weeks and months and so on, so be sure to check back often.
Sick.
And I'm very happy to be
like my nose is
giving
stuffed.
you guys this content that I've been promising for so long. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you all for your support once again, and I will see you on, what is today? I will see you next Tuesday.
This video is really funny because it's like I don't think I wrote a script for it. I think I'm kind of just firing from the hip, which I kind of respect a little bit. Yeah, this is nuts. Oh man, some of these like names I definitely recognize. That's wild. Yeah, well, so here's your answer. 19th of March 2017 was the first publicly available version that other people could play. And that's, it's what that would mean. How long to the The old trailer, I'm good. We can watch that another time. I like the old trailer, but I like the new one more, at least as it's been coming along. Wow, that is a trip. So, oh yeah, I liked my own video, I'm sure. This was also very much the time when, it's like, oh, I gotta do like whatever I can to like boost my thing in the algorithm, which is, not a bad move, I suppose, but I don't actually know if it helps at all. Oh, thank you, Daryl. I'm gonna be doing more playthroughs. At least that's the plan. If you like Liam, there's so much, or even just so the new trailer that is in production. Liam's been recording footage. We have several volunteers are recording footage that is just absolutely fucking great. And Rick is heading the project, and he's going to be editing it. And I do like the original trailer. After going through it with him, I do think that there's a lot of things we could have done better. And so I'm excited to kind of, release the newest iteration. And it's kind of weird that, Dendra's been going nuts with the footage. It's kind of weird. It seemed for a while I was going to do retro gaming stuff. Think I will ever return to that. It depends on what you mean. You mean like playing it, Kalak? Because if so, probably not. Not unless we have like a strong... For me, the crux of... So here's the problem that applies to everybody. We have limited time, right? The older I get, the heavier that seems, the less time. Yeah, it's impossible, Finn. And I promise here, this will be the last. Oh, two things. This one, I'm going to do a little rant about time and just kind of my philosophy on content creation, whether it's like games or whatever. Number two, please let me rant about Adobe a little bit. It'll be good for my soul. And I'm sure my wife and my friends would like to stop being the targets and having to listen to this. And then three, more tags. My philosophy on content creation is this. I mean, I think it's like a philosophy people apply to businesses or really anything, where you want to be doing something. Now, okay, this only applies when you need to be I mean, you could say maybe from an artistic perspective, it applies as well. But I think that it's less important for that, because artistic perspective, it's kind of like, my opinion is, make what you want. You know what I mean? Make what's fun for you. Make what makes you happy. And if that's the only consideration, then go nuts. I don't care. You could be making something that's just an homage to something that exists, and it's very similar. You could be doing your own thing. I don't care. Whatever. Do whatever you want. Art is art. Life is art. Do what makes you happy. If that was the only consideration, you can't go wrong. Assuming it doesn't harm people, of course. When it comes to creating content that you kind of need to be monetarily successful in some way, right? Which is definitely maybe not a requirement of the stuff that I make, assuming I were able to make, my monetary goals elsewhere, which I'm also trying to do. But ideally, you can get some degree of payment for the stuff that you are passionate about, right? It can also be problematic to kind of cross those two wires. But I think most people ideally would like to kind of find a way to get paid to do what they love. It's a common life goal. When you do that, if you want to make, any sort of money in anything, you just I think you really need to be doing something that no one else is really doing, right? A huge part of your value generation is that whatever it is that you're making, people can really only find from you, right? Now, that's not inherently the truth. You can have competitors who are doing similar things and still be monetarily successful, but that's really only going to be the case if if there's not a lot of competitors, or if the target market is large enough to support multiple businesses or content or whatever. So if the question is like, would I do, retro Let's Plays? I really like doing that stuff. I think that some of the stuff that I made, like with my friends, a lot of it I go back and watch and I'm like, yeah, this is actually, some of it's like, okay, this is amateur. It's not easy to do like a Let's Play, right? This is like amateur people trying to do a Let's Play. Some of it, I just think a lot of my friends are really funny. I think that we have pretty good chemistry. And some of the stuff that I would watch, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. It feels to me like, decent enough to be kind of operating on an okay tier echelon. But you're talking about a massively saturated, market. If the question is, are we doing anything with that content that is unique enough to justify the time required to put it together? Because it's time, it's equipment, it's like effort. I think the answer is no to that question. And that's kind of the question that I ask myself for most things that I do, because again, like my time is never, I don't even have like kids, right? But my time has never been at a higher premium in my life than it is now. I just have more, the older you get, maybe up until a point, the more responsibilities you have. And I just have to be very careful with how I spend my time. And that's something I really struggle with anyway. As you guys can see, I'm very easily distracted. So it's not something I'm well suited for, and it's something I've been trying to improve. It's probably, I would say, the biggest kind of endeavor of my life right now is improving on that. Yeah, I think 30, I turned 30 last year. I'm turning 31 in basically 2 months from now. And I think 30 is a time when, on the whole, you really start to feel this feeling. You're out of your 20s. Your 20s are very much, your 20s I think are at least hopefully a lot of fun. I hear a lot of people say they find their 30s even more fun because your 20s are also really scary. Your 20s are very like, you're, especially in the beginning, you're still very much a child in many ways, and you're kind of trying, it's a transition into like the world of adults. I think a lot of like college kids or people who do, not everyone does like a traditional 4-year education. Some people stay longer and do like a advanced degree. School is definitely our first dipping our toes into adulthood, but it's still not adulthood. You're still, and which is not to say that people, it also varies. Like some people, their school experience is a lot more adult than others because they have to, they have to work a lot to like maintain their degree. They have student loans and all this stuff. So I shouldn't say it's like not adulthood. It's just there's still maybe comparatively less responsibility than when you're kind of out in the world and it's like, hey, make money to make rent, or like that's it. You know what I mean? You'll be like materially not taken care of, at least if you live in certain parts of the world. So all that said, and like your 20s can be fun. It's all kind of like fresh and new and whatever. But I think your 20s, they're pretty tough, especially towards like, and of course these are all generalizations, so your mileage may vary. I would say like 25 to 30, at least personally, those are some of the hardest times in my life, for a variety of reasons. Some of them more personal. But I just think on the whole, you're kind of, it's like the honeymoon phase of like entering adulthood is starting to fade, and you're like, shit, like this is what adulthood is. Like I got bills to pay, I got responsibilities, I got a job where I have to, spend time probably doing something I'm not super keen on in the hopes that I can generate enough capital to maybe one day focus more on the things that I want. And that's kind of like if you're lucky. There's a lot of people out there who get paid far too little to do a job that's way too hard and soul-sucking. And it's just like, man, like it can really like get to you. And then I think in your 30s, or as you like approach your 30s, it's like you start to really appreciate the value of time, and just it starts to, you feel like you have a little bit less of it, like you can't, God, like I remember being, in high school when my only responsibilities were like school and like high school sports and that kind of thing, or like sort of like your relationships too, but like, you're a high school kid. So I was kind of like I feel like a doofy participant in high school relationships. it's mostly like, yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna play fucking hella Xbox 360 for like hours and hours, or even when you're younger than that, before you're really in like serious school, you have what feels like infinite time to like play all your favorite games and like do all that kind of stuff. And of course, you're younger, so literally a year represents a much higher percentage of your life. It's of course going to feel, I think, a little bit slower. Like the idea when you're 7 years old, going from 7 to 8 is like, holy crap, I just added on like a whole ass, like 20%, or not 20%, but 16.667% of my life. It feels like a long time. So anyway, all that said, content creation, right? Where I am now with the responsibilities that I have and just the priorities that I have to be very, very selective about what I spend the time on. So something like the retro Let's Plays, I enjoy that very much. I think a lot of people would. I think that's why it appeals to people. It's like, hey, you want to essentially kind of like get paid to play your favorite games and like talk to people, like your audience. Of course, there's downsides, but it seems pretty cool. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of want to get into it. But the fact of the matter is, like, it just doesn't pull. Like, I remember doing like a good example is my Fallout New Vegas playthrough, which I was kind of just trying to do that stuff as like background content while I made, more like video essays was kind of what I wanted to do at the time. And I remember thinking like, okay, like maybe people will be into this too. And some people definitely were. Like, I definitely had fans or like part of my audience were like, yeah, I really like this. But just the most of my audience, at least at the time, was, like Ultimate Skyrim based. I wasn't playing Ultimate Skyrim. I wasn't really doing, like, my Fallout New Vegas playthrough. It's not that unique compared to, like, anyone else's Fallout New Vegas playthrough. So if again, that would be fine if I just didn't have this material need to make money to survive. You know what I mean? So maybe one day, never say never. If I somehow got hit by the money truck and I just had hella money to do kind of whatever I wanted, then maybe then I'd do, whatever. If I was like, yeah, I want to make just for fun. Like, I don't care if I'm successful. I don't care if I'm popular or whatever. I just want to make these because I enjoy it. Then maybe. But until that point, I would unfortunately have to say no. Oh, GP, that's cool. I didn't even know that you were a father. That's really rad. Turned 8, huh? That is crazy. Congratulations. That is super cool. But yeah, so that's kind of how I think about it, and that's that rant. So there's number 1. Yo, thank you for 21 months, Alan. Much appreciated. 2, Adobe rant. And then I promise this won't take very long. But I'm someone, you can see my at least my most used Adobe apps down at the bottom there. Oh boy, Adobe. Like, I'm a long time Adobe user. I've always edited in Premiere. There's really no, at least that I know of, no like super viable alternative to Photoshop. I think Photoshop is honestly their flagship product, their best thing. And of course After Effects. I would say that Photoshop maybe and After Effects are probably, oh my god, this spam, their best products. What I'm about to say is not a hot take. It's not an unpopular opinion. It's just that over the years, I've just anecdotally felt like the Adobe programs that I use continue to feel clunkier and clunkier and just have kind of weird features. Sometimes it seems like, maybe they're sitting on a mountain of technical debt or spaghetti code, and that's why that sometimes the things work the way that they do. There's bugs. The bugs are like... The bugs, honestly, usually, unless they're really intrusive, they usually don't bother me as much as, like, weird choices that I don't understand. Those ones are annoying to me because it's like, why did you guys design it like this? Sometimes there's a good reason for that. Other times there's not. I know this very well as, like, a developer, also just as someone who's interested in, like, tech and, like, SaaS now. Like, I've been doing a lot of SaaS, like, interview type thing. And just watching my wife, like, as her whole... My wife has worked in tech for a very long time. And it was so eye-opening to me how so many companies, I think, at least in my head, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people, like successful companies kind of exist in this weird, almost like deified space where from the outside looking in, when you've never worked at one of these companies or never had any sort of insight into the internal operations of these companies, there's so many brands that seem like they're just, got it figured out and that everything works really well and whatever. And oftentimes that's like not the case, because all of these brands and businesses, businesses are made up of people, and people make mistakes. They're human. You have, and frankly, this is a larger discussion, but you also have a lot of big companies that are just maintained by these C-suites who are just a bunch of fucking weirdos at best, like hella out of touch with just like regular people, and like weirdos at best, and sometimes just like malicious as fuck at worst, and like assumed to be amazing. It's like another similar deification, frankly, where you have, it's like, oh, this Fortune 500 CEO, like, wow, they're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Like, they must really have their shit together. They must know what they're doing. Actually, no. Well, not to say that they don't have any skills of any kind, but there's so many CEOs, I'm not going to name names, who are just fucking assholes and like not even good at what they do, frankly. And they're just like tantrum and are just super ego-based and never really kind of face any degree of consequence for it, which I imagine, like, sometimes consequences, even though they feel shitty in the moment, like, consequences are a great way for people to learn. Most people, when I think of the biggest learning experiences in my own life, most of the time mistakes and consequences for the mistakes that I made were like the strongest catalysts, right? So anyway, thank you for 12 months practice. Getting off topic, like, and just one additional bit there for like development. Someone said this, and this is a great point. It's also, so that's all like kind of the weird personal part. There's also just sometimes where like at these companies and like, these big software projects or whatever, people move, they go to other companies. I think that at least the landscape of like the, just like the job landscape, you'll say, I think something that like, especially like our parents like don't understand, or like kind of sometimes older generations, not to make this into like a generational thing. Thanks, Bambi, for 15 months complaining. So hell yeah, I'm sure you're right. I feel like a lot of like our parents' generation, my parents' generation, I think they were, and again, this is a generalization. There are many exceptions to this. Your mileage may vary. This one's related to the topic, I promise. Of Adobe, that is. Sometimes I feel people don't it's kind of off topic as I stop to think about it. They don't realize, I think, that the job market operates so differently. I think a lot of people would say it's worse. I think that obviously there's been a lot of, it got hella recessions like over the course of the past 30 years. It's tough out there, right? And like also, stuff's expensive, like blah blah blah. I'm not an economist, but you have this stark difference in the way that kind of the job market operates, where it used to be viable to be a quote unquote, like the old kind of gendered term is like he's a company man, right? Or like company woman, I guess, would exist too, although the further back you go, the worse it continues to get for women. And it's still not fucking great right now, I'll tell you. You used to be able to stay at a company for like your entire life, your entire career in some cases. Not every job, of course, but in many jobs you could do this. And you would be paid reasonably well. You would get reasonably good bonuses. I meant to say benefits. It would be fine, right? And like, stuff was not quite as expensive, and you could live on this sort of thing. And sometimes I think that people don't really understand this, like when they haven't experienced it or they've been out of the job market for a while. Today you see all the time, it's like, it's really cutthroat. There's pros and cons to each approach too. Like sometimes can be good, but now I feel like, it's like as an employee, you really have to be out for yourself. You kind of ought to be routinely searching for like whatever your role is in your field. What pay bands are the people at your same level like operating in? Are there companies that are paying more? Because like the companies will try to pay you the least amount that they have to. And I can't necessarily blame them for that. it's, you know, it's profitability above all else, I guess. But like, there are companies out there, they're rare, or they're kind of like unicorns, but there are companies out there that will, I think, value their employees a little bit more. They'll pay you a little bit more to, you know, have it be like a positive experience. And there's also companies that pay you more because they know that the job sucks that they're having you do, and no one will do it otherwise. Good examples of this would be like big law, or finance is a big one, right? Where people are just working like fucking 80-hour weeks and it just sucks, but they're earning big, you know, hella bank. But anyway, yeah, like, this is the way it relates to Adobe, is that because employees are constantly encouraged, you know, whether explicitly or implicitly, to kind of shop around and, you know, diagonally, just to leverage themselves into better positions, you end up with a lot of software projects and just projects in general where it's like, yeah, this entire thing was like built by a team of people, none of whom are here anymore, and like we don't really have strong documentation or whatever, and like no one knows how like this section of the project works and like all that kind of stuff. And the larger your company becomes, the easier it is for things like this to happen, and the easier it is, I think, for you to accrue this technical debt. You also see this a lot with companies that have scaled up rapidly, oftentimes because they've been either bought out by, or like they've hired one of those like IPO, pre-IPO consultancies whose literal only role is to like make your company look good for the purpose of an IPO, right? Which, by the way, if you guys don't know that whole world, like, it's fucking crazy. Like, there's companies are literally committing like fraud on a quarterly basis. Quarterly earnings calls are like the most bullshit. Like, probably if like the SEC bothered to investigate many of these companies, they would have ample evidence of fraud, but it's just, one, too much of a pain in the ass to pursue, and two, the inmates running the asylum sometimes, you know what I mean? It's like everyone fucking knows. It's like the people in the C-suite here know the people at the SEC there. Like, it's actually pretty gross, right? But we're not even going to go there. Anyway, yeah, maybe Adobe. The whole thing is that, like, I don't know what the reason is. I don't even know if I'm right necessarily, and maybe this is just my anecdotal experience. But with the Adobe programs that I've used for forever, it just kind of feels like they constantly get more and more bloated, or they don't kind of work as well as they used to. They're like laggier, and meanwhile my computer is like so much more powerful than it used to be. So like, what the fuck? Sometimes they add new like features and stuff, but most of the time the features are not enough to justify like whatever the things they've changed that like I don't like. And sometimes they just straight up don't make any sense, like the changes that they'll make. But yeah, like on the whole, it's just becoming, it used to be, and maybe I was naive at this point, because I'm pretty sure there were probably people saying this then, but it used to be that I would like, Adobe in my mind was this like, you know, yeah, it wasn't maybe quite as like nimble as a product produced by the smaller companies who were like, you know, the scrappier startups where, yeah, sometimes they're a little bit less like polished on the whole. You might encounter some bugs, but like you have these smaller kind of like startups attempting to address like a pain point, right? Like maybe, you know, you have hella like little video editors now that are more like nimble and have like more modern features than Premiere and cater to, you know, a more niche audience in some cases, but they're like, I don't know, it's easier for them to iterate quickly, right? So they can be like, okay, here's your MVP. That's broken. That should be better. All right, let's fix that. Let's improve that. They can iterate faster because they don't have all this technical debt, and they're not this massive company that's responsible for like, how many products does Adobe have now? Like, let's look. Oops, that was OBS. What's the Adobe thingy? Here. Creative Cloud. How many freaking all apps installed? Okay, available in your plan. This is like so many applications to try and manage, right? This is actually less. I feel like there's more than this. Oh, yeah, look, more spam. So yeah, summarily, I just kind of feel like, you know, I don't know if it's that they're too big to like be able to maintain these applications. I don't know if it's problems within the individual like product teams. Maybe it's both, probably. But it just kind of sucks a lot of the time. It used to be that I'd be like, all right, well, like Adobe, yeah, maybe they're not quite as nimble, but they at least, you know, they're kind of like this professional standard that I can count on. And now it's gotten to the point where I'm like, fuck, like anytime I gotta do some stuff, I almost like dread it sometimes, which is really not the user experience that you're going for. And yes, Finn, like that, they just bought Figma, and like Figma's like a great example of how like Illustrator, there's certain things in Illustrator, I would liken Illustrator to like the creation kit, and Figma, I don't have a ton of experience in Figma, but I have some now, and Figma's like the new hotness. Figma is like what Xedit is to me, where like it's just really easy to go in and do a bunch of stuff and make these kind of crazy changes. Obviously there's some stuff that Xedit can't quite do that the CK can, which is like the analogy to Illustrator. But Illustrator by contrast is just so fucking cumbersome. There's just so many things that it just does where I'm like, why is it like this? Like, why would anyone build it like this? Oh my god. Bot's hidden. It just doesn't go away on the chat that you guys see because it's Restream. Any experience in Ligma? No, what's that? What's Ligma? Oh, you're saying hide the VOD as in chatting to get it rid of. Oh, thank you. What's Ligma, guys? What the heck? But yeah, so when Adobe acquired Figma, me and my friends were like, oh no, like what? Like what's gonna happen? So yeah, I've been frustrated with it lately because I've been doing a lot more freelance, and also I've been doing HUD stuff with Illustrator, and it's just like a huge pain in my patoot. Like it just sucks. And not all the time. Like I don't want to, because there's the one of the other issues is that like again, there are people, like the entire company, Adobe is a company, it's made up of people. It's people who are working on these products, and a lot of the time, I mean, it's the same thing with game dev or whatever, right? Like a lot of the time, there are developers and like product managers and maybe sometimes project managers. I don't know. There are people who care about making a quality product and people who are trying to do, you know, like really make something cool and like all that kind of stuff. It's just sometimes it doesn't quite work out that way. And I try to keep that in mind so I don't get too critical. And like, again, like I still use like these applications versus the alternatives for better or for worse. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't, you know, there's the old adage, especially in game design, where it's like, it's good to work hard and it's a requisite to probably making anything really fantastic, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, like no one really cares how hard you work. Like or like it's cool, you know, like from just like a human perspective, being able to kind of set your mind to something and follow through, or like build discipline. Like those are fun things to do. But no, from an end user perspective, like no one really cares how much effort you put in. They only care if it's good, because all they're interested in is like experiencing the product. They're in the market for the product. They're not really, some people are interested in learning the story behind it or like the development or whatever. But if you make, you know, you pour all your heart and soul into making a game and then it's not good, like, and I say not good, generalization, but like people, like a lot of people don't find it fun to play, then yeah, it's probably not going to be like monetarily successful. And that's a hard fucking pill to swallow. Like it's something I still struggle with like every now and then. And I know game devs do. It's certainly feels like a maturation lesson where it's like, yo, it is entirely possible to like really pour your heart and soul into something and still fail. I put fail in air quotes because it's such a loaded term. We'll just say like fail in terms of sales or like fail monetarily or whatever, right? This is tricky. Yes, I mean Darkworks. It is largely that. The subscription model is kind of gnarly. It's like, okay, well, keep subscribing, and that's the only way to get the product. Versus like, oh, we made a new version of this product that like has enough features to justify a new version of itself, right? So who knows? Yes, absolutely. Think about US or Wildlander, Ultimate Skyrim or Wildlander add so many mods, it can be difficult to track down a problem. Or even like I sometimes, and this is also, partially me and just not having my organization kind of together, which is something I'm really working on. But like something I think I've seen is that like I see a lot of other mod lists that will add mods like way faster, at like way higher a rate than we do. And some like literally sometimes that's just because my organization is bad, which is surprise surprise something that happens at some of these companies as well. Is like they have poor project organization. Happens in game dev a lot because game dev is a notoriously difficult like thing to plan, like to schedule, you might say. But the other reason is because like I really try to make things like polished, and like I have a really high standard I think for like integration and like cohesiveness. And I think that's one of the things that makes the project really, that's like one of our value propositions, right? Is like, it's like a seal of approval that I try to have on the project, where it's like, if you're playing this thing, you're going to have, or you should have, like a polished user experience that sets it above, right? And then of course there's like the gameplay vision, which ideally does the same thing. But yeah, so it can slow you down, like with whatever you prioritize, right? Yes, I really am trying to fix it. It's like you try to fix it. I probably should have fixed it, however long ago. But as they say, you don't know until you know, or you can't do it until you can. Everything is a journey, yada yada. But yeah. Anyway, you guys want to look at some mod suggestions? So there was 2. Hey, it's only 1:34. For getting that many rants in, not so bad, I think. What is this song? Yeah, I mean, it's true, GP. That was kind of how I was for like forever, for even like all the way through, we'll say like, I don't know, 2017. Finn, when would you say, like, when was like Yumi, Gato, Rune, like around that time is kind of when I would say more people kind of started to come help out with like Ultimate Skyrim to like varying degrees. And Connor showed up like somewhere there after that. But for a long time, it was just kind of like me, doing stuff myself. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Music down here. I wish it's like these things are not unified. Let's put it there. Okay, yeah, so like several years where it's just kind of me, myself, and I remember like my organization, my project tracker, so to speak, was basically a long Google Doc that had a list of things that I wanted to do. None of it was prioritized, and a lot of the time I wouldn't even use it. I would just kind of do whatever it was that I was doing anyway. I wouldn't track what I was doing. There's no tickets, there's no anything like that to, improve. I would just kind of like improve stuff as it came to me, or as I was in the area, so to speak, like within the game files, right? Suffice to say, that becomes it's a harder methodology to stick with when the project starts to grow in scale, and when you start wanting to do more ambitious things. And you also, something I think for at least people like me, it's not like it was enjoyable either. Like, you're kind of always, I still feel like this a lot of the time, you feel like you are like always behind. And I think you feel that way because you don't really have a schedule or nothing's mapped to be like, okay, if I do this, this, and this on this day, then like I'm on track. Or even if I do this, 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 and this, I'm ahead of schedule. Wow, it feels good to be ahead of schedule. I just almost have no semblance of what that feeling feels like, because it's just, otherwise it always feels like you're behind when there's like no schedule. And you also, so there's like that feeling part of it. There's also the pragmatic part of it. I think now, having done this, some of the, improve the organization, because it's even where it is today, it's like miles better than what it used to be. You lose a lot of time on little things when you're not organized. Just like something like the reason we have issues and tickets, right, is like, for example, like Lizzie will message me and she's like, you got like some new bug or something that one of the users has reported, and we're both going, shit, this sounds familiar, like didn't we have something like that like before? And we can go into Jira and we can search for this like old, you know, ticket, this bug that we thought we fixed. Maybe we actually didn't fix it after all, or maybe we did fix it, but there was another instance of the bug that like we didn't know about, and we can see how we fixed it there because, you know, we have like a solution logged and all that kind of stuff. There are so many times that we've done that kind of thing, and if you try to tally up how much time I would have spent back in the day, I wouldn't have been able to search that solution. If I remembered it, that would be great. But sometimes you'll be like, what was it? And then you have to spend even more time basically re-implementing the solution. Like you have to kind of start from scratch again, and you lose time with these little things. And I think I think a lot of people, at least who operate like I have historically, and especially like frankly like ADHD people, at least how it feels for me is you already feel so stressed and so spread thin and so, how can I possibly spare any time for planning when I already am behind by so much? I have to spend every waking minute continuing to work, right? And to push the needle forward on actual progress. It's like planning is not progress, I think, to people like this, people like me, at least if you don't get your mind around it. You just don't have a point of reference yet, or you don't realize, or, you know, some people maybe will never work that way. But like for me, I have these experiences now of being like, okay, just trust me on this, hold your breath, take a beat, step back, let's get some organization in, let's get some planning in. This is something my wife is great at, by the way, because she's been doing it for so long. She's been doing it since she was like a kid. I don't even know. I would be curious. I think I've asked her this before, but I don't know if it's like if she would say she has like a natural inclination towards organization. I don't know. Maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. But I know that her organization is really good, and you know, it's something you practice. It's like a skill, like any other thing. And if you finally manage to do it, you take a step back, even though it feels fucking weird. It feels weird to a person like me to like be spending time planning. You plan some stuff, you get your organization in order, and now when you go forward, it doesn't, it feels better. It feels like you don't have to worry as much, and you don't have to spend so much mental energy like ad hoc figuring out what it is you're supposed to be doing like each time you finish a task, or like you have reference materials that you can reference in order to make tasks that you have easier. Or it's just like a I don't know, it's a lot less high and low, I guess you might say, because this is like the classic adage of like someone who, like, it's like how I've always been this way, more or less. Or like I think I was mostly starting, let's say, like middle school. Like I had some stuff in my personal life happening at the time when I was just, you know, and sometimes it's also when you're a teenager. It's like teenagers, or you're transitioning into a teenager, which is a weird time. That's when I really started to just kind of like procrastinate things, and I was like anxious, and I wouldn't work. I was the stereotypical, like, I'm not going to do shit until a little bit before the deadline, and then I'm just going to, you know, smash it all in there. And, you know, you can do that. And there's also this component of like, wow, it's crazy how much I can get done when I really like set my mind to it, and when there's a deadline and like I need to. But then oftentimes like ADHD people will be like, yeah, so that's how I should be able to work all the time. And then you just get really mad at yourself that you can't. But that's like a whole other thing. Suffice to say, that model of work is like kind of how I was. And I continued to do that like all the way through my formal education. And it wasn't until I actually tried to do something that maybe not required better organization, but certainly benefited from it a lot, that I was like, it just became too untenable. I was just too miserable all the time doing it the way that we used to. And so now it's a little bit different. And again, I think there's still areas of improvement, like this whole fucking thing that we're doing here, right? Like me going through with these labeling and things like this, it's all to build out this kind of system that I'm talking about. So like now I know that when I'm looking for certain kinds of mods, I can like tag them with this stuff, or like when users are looking for certain kinds of stuff, all of it is front loaded effort and time, with kind of the hope that in the future it's going to pay off, and that stuff that you would have spent time on, you won't have to anymore. That's a tough proposition, I think, for a lot of people, especially quote unquote the ADHD people or whatever. People on the whole, I think, are much better at understanding and anticipating and tangibly imagining short-term gain and short-term impact versus long-term, right? Long-term is a lot harder for us to do. And especially kind of like, quote unquote, in today's day and age, not to be all whatever, but like, I think that, we have a lot of things competing for our attention at any given time, and it's tough. It's tough to kind of manage your focus and stuff these days. But yeah, shit's gnarly. And so now I've certainly been trying, and like now kind of the big impetus for me, as you guys know, is like I've really been trying to up my freelance. I'm also trying to up the monetization of Wildlander in ways that I can and in ways that are ethical. But the fact of the matter is, like, I'm 30 years old. I can't keep making as much as I've been making, as grateful as I am for what I'm making. I need to step up kind of the side hustles, right? So I'm doing that now. So I think that's why I've additionally been kind of like stressed, is like, oh, it's just another iteration of like, I already feel like I'm behind in this. Like, how am I going to have time to like do these other things like in the meantime? But then as you start to get used to it and you calm down, it's a byproduct of two things, I think. One is like, oh, you actually like you just get better at it over time. It's like a skill, right? The stuff that's like throwing you for a loop now is not as overwhelming in a little bit because you've been doing it for a little while. And it's easy to forget that. It's easy to forget like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed and how am I ever going to do this? It's easy to forget that that's a feeling you've had before, and you got over it before, and you're probably going to get over it this time too. Also, maybe you won't. Maybe you're trying to do something that really you're not suited for, or that you don't want to do. That could be too, but then you'll figure that out, and like it'll be okay in the long run. Is the thing I think that is true. The other component is that like you sometimes like doing this stuff, it actually makes it better. I think it's kind of related to us only being able to imagine like the short term. I think also as humans, maybe not everyone's like this, but I think this is common. It's a lot easier for us to, from a fear-based perspective, imagine the negative consequences of something new. And it's a lot harder for us to imagine the positive consequences or the positive byproducts, right? So we're hyper-focused on, I can't be doing all these side hustle things because then I'm not going to have any time for like my main thing. And like, then what's going to happen? It's like, well, you might have less time for your main thing. You might have to balance that. But sometimes like limitations like that can be really helpful. Like that's the kind of the premise of organization. It's like, look, let's say, in a regular 9 to 5, you have you have 4 hours for freelance and you have 4 hours for whatever it is that your other thing you're doing. Sometimes having those limitations and deadlines helps you focus and helps you like stay on track and be like, okay, in a situation where before I might have like kind of fucked off to browse Reddit or something, I'm like, no, like I only have this much time. So whatever, time I have, I actually want to spend doing this thing right now. And lo and behold, a little bit over time, like bit by bit, you're getting more done, you're more organized, you're doing stuff that you never thought you were going to be able to do before. And it's, that's the point that I'm trying to get to with some of the stuff I'm doing now, but I can even already see it a little bit. And also there's that bit where oftentimes we are so hard on ourselves and we don't stop. And I know that I'm just basically repeating like the Cliff's Notes of like common self-help axioms here, but sometimes it helps to repeat it, and if you've never heard some of these, hopefully they're useful. Oftentimes, the way I liken it, maybe I heard this analogy somewhere, or maybe it just kind of makes sense in my head, but I imagine like a lot of what we're doing is like we're climbing a mountain, right? And you're kind of like going up and like forward, and your face is just kind of like up against the mountain. You can't really see much except for what's directly in front of you. But if you turn around and you look behind you, like, and this is a common analogy, this part for sure, you forget how far you've come and like how different it is now to like how it used to be. It's pretty fucking crazy. And I think doing that, I'm horrible at doing that kind of thing. I'm horrible at giving myself credit for anything at all. I think a lot of people struggle with this sort of thing. I know my wife does too. we both talk about how, you know, we're everyone's their own worst critic is the idea. But sometimes I think it really helps to, like, it's like a way of affecting your self-talk. You can turn around if you have something in your head that's like, oh, I'm so shit, or like, blah. I don't mean to say it in a mocking voice. I mean in the sense that, like, it's not the truth. You know what I mean? Or, like, if it's really not the truth, I can guarantee, like, whatever the real version of, like, oh, I wish I was doing this a little differently is not like, oh, I'm shit. Sometimes when you can say those things to yourself, like, oh, actually I've come really far. It's like self-affirmations, right? And it's the truth. It's crazy, like, how much of an impact it can have on just your day-to-day experience. Anyway, mindfulness, self-help, over. Unless I read something that one of you guys says that I'm like, yeah. Yep, GP. I literally, just yesterday, I was talking with my wife about that, where, like, I had this prior obligation that took longer than I hoped it would. I had no control over it. I got back home later than I hoped. I had something I had to do, like, an hour and a half later, 2 hours later. And even though I had time to kind of, like, do some stuff I needed to do, I was, like, so bummed about the other stuff taking as long that, like, I barely got anything done, like, in that amount of time. And then I just felt worse about that afterwards. I think it's common. It's easy to have happen. And I think sometimes it's just going to happen anyway. But I think that what Chillaxing said right here is very true and very good. Sometimes you'll work on some things that are, like, procrastinating, right? And then other times it's like, I think at least the direction I'm trying to go at it from, like, primarily, I think it helps to try and focus on one angle at once, which is hilariously antithetical to how, like, ADHD brain thinks, or, like, how many people I think. The particular angle I'm trying to focus on lately is, like, okay, let's say shit does not go according to plan, or, like, you know, it's you didn't get to work, or you didn't nail things earlier in the day the way you wanted to. Having that be okay, having that not be some shame trigger, because I think it's the feeling of shame and guilt that really gets us and makes us feel kind of, like, unmotivated to do the rest of it, which then of course ends up feeding itself. Just becoming okay with those things, like, yeah, like, sometimes that shit happens, sometimes it's within our control and it happens, other times it's not. It's gonna happen no matter what. So to take a page out of Brene Brown's book, one of the most effective things I think we can do is build this sense of shame resilience, where it's like, yeah, sometimes this happens, and maybe you did make a mistake of some kind, a mistake. If so, you don't have to guilt yourself for it. You don't have to beat yourself up for it. You can just try and take what you've learned, what's learnable, like, from it, and then just do whatever you can with it. And then going an even meta level, if you feel bad, because historically you just feel bad when this kind of thing happens, of course you do, that's okay too. Like, you don't have to not feel bad about it, right? So it's like another area where you can tell yourself you're failing. It's like, I'm trying so hard to be okay with this, and I'm not okay with it, so, like, geez, like, dang, I'm fucking that up too. It's just like, oh man, like, we really are so hard on ourselves, and, like, it's okay if you feel that way. If you spent your whole life feeling that way, I'm practically talking to myself at this point, but I feel like so many of us are like this. You've spent your whole life probably exhibiting elements of this habit. This reaction is a habit. The feeling is based in habit. And you don't walk 30 miles into a forest, turn around, and get out in 10, right? It takes time. It's like anything else. You just work, you do what you can, you do your very best, and just, you know, like, try and calibrate. Like, you calibrate the mindset, because it's all in the mindset, unfortunately, which is really fucking frustrating. It's like, it's just the truth. It's like, as my therapist likes to say, and it's sometimes you just can't get around this anyway, sometimes it's just too much of a mental hurdle, but, like, we really can, like, impact, I think, how I mean, all we can do is impact how we respond to things. So, anyway, it's all good. Oh, look, Lizzie's here. Let's get some work done. Lizzie, we've been doing so much stuff. we got through so many recommendations. We adjusted so many labels, right, guys? So many. Definitely, we're not just like chatting about mindfulness stuff. Yes, that's very. The last thing I'll say, I promise. Last thing I'll say. Here's my boundary. What Chillax just said right there, I think is very true too, and it's actually something that I think is very helpful. You can look at these struggles and the times when you just feel like, I wish I'd done it differently, or like, I'm really struggling right now. I really do think those things are a necessary piece of the puzzle. It's like there was no way. I think it's very easy to get in this mindset where it's like, oh, if only I had done this differently, that would have been better, and then I wouldn't feel this way. Or like, oh, if I were better at X, I wouldn't be having this problem. And it's like, I don't know if that's a fair framing, but like maybe, but you're not. You know what I mean? Like, you're not there yet. And who says you should be? You're probably the only person who's saying you should be. And honestly, if someone else in your life is saying that kind of thing to you, that's like not good. It's all, people say that kind of stuff when they're dealing with their own stuff and they're just kind of projecting it. Unfortunately, we all do that from time to time. But the shoulds of the world usually don't make any sense. It's like, I should be better at this. Why should you be better at it? You haven't done it, or you haven't done it that much, or you're still learning to be better at it, or like whatever, or just you didn't think about it in that way, or like whatever it is. The shoulds, if you find yourself saying the shoulds, you're probably being too hard on yourself. What Chillax said there, you can't avoid these experiences, if you want to grow in your work. Those experiences, it's how you grow and learn. It's how you get better, is you have to fail. You have to struggle. Or at least most people do. I think some people are like prodigies at things and they won't struggle in the ways that others do for like a certain type of thing. They'll probably struggle somewhere else. And also the stuff that we struggle for, the hard-won kind of lessons, I think are the ones, at least personally, like impact me the most. And I think that's common. That's a fucking Parthenax quote. What does he say? It's like, what is better, to be born good? In Mario, right? What is better, to be born good or to, become good through like struggle or some shit like that? I don't know which is better. I don't even think better exists. But the fact of the matter is, most of us will have to struggle through stuff because we don't know until we know. We can't do until we can. And all of the little experiences that we had along the way, all the little pebbles, all contributed to that road that got you here. And it's probably fair to say that you wouldn't be where you are without those experiences, because it's just necessary. I don't know. Mario as a dragon, sick. Linda Belcher as Mario in the Mario movie. Lizzie, do you get emails when I change labels and stuff too? Because if so, I'm sorry. Mario as a dragon, Parthenax. Periodically interesting buffs from doing certain actions. Oh, sure, something like that, CP. Or like an ability that you learn from someone? For sure. I like that. Like, okay, cool. Well, we've been doing mostly label stuff. We really haven't done like a ton, but I'm mostly reapplying the labels to the stuff that I've already sorted. One of the thing, like one of the need systems, kind of like buffs, or like how that's gonna work. I'm working on these need systems. Actually, I was like in the Skyrim mods Discord chatting with friends about it. You will get kind of like unique buffs from each need, and then probably you will get like an overarching buff that kind of amalgamates like your status across all your different needs, right? So that's not quite what you're saying, CP. It's not like it's kind of like it, but similar-ish. And then of course you can still have like, temporary buffs that are unique for like people. Like you'd be like, oh, if you become good enough friends with someone, maybe they give you like a temporary buff or something like that. That'd be cool. I would love that sort of reward for becoming good friends with somebody. And maybe it's unique to them when we add like unique likes and dislikes and that kind of thing. I love it. That's what you would file under to get us back on track. File that under relationships, which is down there somewhere. And then also probably skills and experience. Sorry, skills, perks, and leveling. Requiem static, blah, 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 blah. All right, Requiem, weapons and armor redone. Blah, 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 blah. This one. How's the... I can't even hear the volume anymore. Ambient. What is this, the Earth Temple? Wind Temple? Let's see. This one's going to be... Weapons and armor redone. Oh, that's actually a label that we don't have one for. We'll say create new label. Say weapons, armor, equipment. We'll say, wait, actually... I mean, you can kind of put that in combat. Actually, I would put that. I'm going to say I'll adjust combat to like combat and balance. Or combat balance? But I mean, the other stuff affects combat. That's not, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you should have a separate label. See, this is, it's tough sometimes to like try and figure out. We'll call this like equipment balance? I don't really know where to put like a weapon overhaul. How about this? Weapons and armor mechanics. That's a good one. Because they are mechanics, these things that are in this mod and what we plan on doing. I like that one. Let's go armor deprecated. Yeah, weapon overhaul. I'll just call it there. Okay, that's good. Weapons and armor. Requiem Shrine Blessing. Religion Requiem is terrible. Blah, 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 blah. This one's pretty much good. Just got to remove this. Actually, we can add this too, just for fun. Quality of life. Sacrosanct. This one is Vampirism. Vamp. We'll say... what I'm also going to do while I'm here, I'm going to remove gameplay mechanics. We're going to do... I'm going to change combat, be like combat mechanics. Yeah, Sacrosanct is cool. Just not quite what I'm looking for. I'm a little worried about Vampirism, to be honest with you. Maybe not worried, but I really want to use... at least conceptually, my favorite one here, and there's like a whole ass essay that I wrote on it. Where is it? It's called Sanguinaire. Oh, here comes the spam. Shush. This is so annoying. Can't get rid of it. Excuse me. Yeah, Sacrosanct does have new spells. But I wouldn't classify it as like a new spells mod. Although you could put that in there. Say here, new spells. Say Salt and Wind. You know what? I'm not gonna bother to like go through. I'll just go the deprecated ones. If we really want to, we can go through and add those later, but we just don't have the time. That's like a talk about here. We're doing prioritization live right now. What I was gonna go through is like go and do like kind of add labels to all the ones we've already done. That's gonna take a long time, so we can do that in the future. Yes, so I know of Requiem of the Vampire, Nostalgic Chef. Thank you. Oh, I started here. I can show you guys. Equiem. I guess it doesn't like that. Requiem of the Vampire is questionable, and here's why. Oh, I got it here. Say, whoops. Questionable. What did I say? I said, this mod definitely looks like an improvement to the default state of vampires. However, it seems uninterested in any form of long-term progression. I'll say, I should adjust that. Long-term progression for vampires, something I'd very much like. This could be used in improvement to baseline vampires. Another mod could be used for progression. Might not need this mod though. In that case, the progression mod also changes baseline vampires. So that's my idea there. So here's what my favorite concept is Sanguinaire, right? So there's a big thingy here. Summarized, Sanguinaire is... it's a really interesting approach to vampirism. Not only do you get, you know, long-term progression and unique and cool powers and like whatever, but you have... Oh, that's a good label to add. Pumpkin cake. To the misc category. Say transformations. Whoops. This one. No. It has subclasses of vampires, right? Where there are different strains of like vampirism, and depending on which strain you catch from like which vampires you're fighting, it's kind of like it'll behave a little differently. So it's even more variety within vampirism. And then there's also like really cool stuff for werewolves. We'll just read through this. Oh, why are these? These are supposed to be... What the hell? Do I have to go like this? Save. Yeah, okay. That's what it was. That's much easier to read. This is the boss of the Temple of the Gods or whatever it is. I think. Werewolves. There's long-term progression. Takes the form of a ranking system. Updated perks. Adaptable into our skills system. Lycanthropy is a curse. Instead of the transform once a day at will, you forcibly transform and must feed before dawn or suffer a debuff. Also gives a purpose to Hercyn's Ring, which forces random transformations when cursed and suppresses that when it's uncursed. Werewolf encounters and spawns are added to the game world, I think. NPC lycanthropes transform just like the player and can be infected. So that one's like a maybe, but it's cool. And then vampirism is like the... it's similar, but there's, yeah, look at this. There's a whopping 9 different strains of vampirism, each with slightly different mechanics, advantages, and disadvantages. From an overview of each, these variances actually look feasible and will provide some really cool depth and variety. If so, biggest question is whether these should progress a singular vampirism skill, or if each should have their own skill like this. Lean towards the latter, since each strain focuses on unique mechanics the same way other skills differentiate, but you would also expect proficiency in one strain, quicken proficiency in another. This could be possible with our related skills, XP growth idea, blah, 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 blah. So you get the idea. Oh yeah, morality system works exactly as you'd hope. The more humans you feed upon, the further from humanity you stray. There are pros and cons for retaining pure humanity, partial humanity, or leaning into the beast. This is, to me, this is like perfect for a vampire. It's like incorporates my favorite vampire mechanics from games like Vampire the Masquerade. There's roleplay components to both of them. Like, it's just really rad. However, I'm a little worried because this mod page has had its comments removed, right? There is this like note. It says, David and I are currently working on a reboot of Skyrim, blah, blah, blah. We're in the initial stages doing so, are currently working on the Volkihar Bloodline. We'll progress to the others soon, hopefully. Reboot will have script extender, blah, blah. So they're working, you know, supposed to be on like this reboot. I expect to release early 2022. Obviously, that's not happened. I don't know if that's still... The issue is that, one, you know, you don't want to spend a bunch of time integrating this if there's like a improved version coming. 2, what exactly is it about this one that requires or incentivizes the, you know, the new version? Like, does it work? Does it not? I don't know, because there's no posts about it. I actually messaged the author, and I can see that the author has seen it. They did not reply. I messaged the author asking, like, hey, are you guys, by chance, are you working on like a new version of this? Because I think this is really cool. Kind of what was, you know, basically what I just said a moment ago. They have not replied, and they might not, you know, ever, which is entirely their prerogative. Again, you know, it's like mods are they have no obligation whatsoever to reply to me or to anything like that. But just, you know, in looking for a vampire mod, these are complications. These might make it, you know, I just can't really gauge how viable it is in the way that I normally do. I try to like Google search for some, you know, information on it. Some of what I found made it seem like maybe, I hate to say, like, this really could not be the case, right? Well, actually, I won't even bother to go there, but just suffice to say, like, I don't know if we'll be able to use this. It would be great if it works as shown. But even without being able to see anyone else's feedback, and sometimes seeing the other users' feedback can be problematic too, because they might have opinions that characterize ours, and then sometimes when I go in it's very different. I have a different opinion than what they had. But it's information that I can't just see at a glance here. So I'd have to spend some time kind of figuring this out. And that's time that it might just be that you spend this time only to then decide, no, I can't use it, right? And there are strong alternate candidates. This is something else to consider. To me, the strongest ones are Better Vampires and Vampiric Thirst. Both of those would need a little bit of cleaning up. One of them would need a lot. They're very customizable, right? Which is cool, especially Better Vampires. And we've used them in the past, and like Vampiric Thirst, I think specifically. So they're promising. They're like next runner-up, I would say. But I do think it's like, man, after hearing about these like vampire subclasses, going back to like a, you know, like not that just seems, it'd be really nice if we could use the subclasses, but you know, sometimes you gotta confront. Serenity uses which one in the beta? Other token. And that's the other thing. It's like, it doesn't seem like they had to do too much adjusting. My adjustment standards are, I'm a weirdo when it comes to some stuff, right? That's possible, Kalak, but I think so what I was going to say earlier, and this is like the quick version of it, is just that like I've heard a lot of people say that, or maybe a lot is not. I've read some comments from some people who said they really liked the mod and they like, you know, asked the author a question and got back like some pretty testy replies. You know, again, I don't even know what those scenarios were. I don't know what the commenters were saying. Maybe it was like rude or something like that. I don't know. And so I just don't know what to make of any of it. I don't have enough information, right? But hopefully, you know, fingers crossed. And we're not really doing this anyway. Also, someone asked about something magic. Oh yeah, spell research. Spell research is, it's overcomplicated. It's that was one of the things that we were going to address if the magic overhaul was what won. But no, we'll do it in the future. Okay, well, since we're here, let's at least, since I'm only just going to fix the deprecated ones later, let's go through y'all say it's 209. I have to sign off at, we'll say, I should sign off at like 2:40. So we got 30 minutes. Let's crank. I mean, various reasons. Mod authors are varied, and you know, it takes all kinds to make the world go round. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's not. That's going to be subjective, whether or not you agree with that, or whether you agree with a particular kind of incident. Sometimes, I mean, I can empathize with the part where sometimes it's you get people who expect like a professional paid degree of like support for mods, and I know that people say like, well, you just gotta ignore those comments, and I think that's the truth, but it's not easy like all the time. I have a lot of sympathy for mod authors because I get those comments all the time. You know, I get comments that are even the well-meaning ones that remind you of some part of the thing that you know want to work on and don't like how it is, can be tough depending on your mindset. And then sometimes you'll get a comment that's like, this fucking sucks, like why would anyone upload this trash or something like that, which like it can get to you. The undead will rise again unless killed in ways that are specifically weak to you. Oh, I think this is in Libram? Yeah. There's enemy to cleanse their bodies. Huh. So this is I'm gonna say needs further assessment. This is I think this is a Puppet Ganon fight. How's the volume? Too loud? I'll turn it down a little bit. This is a super cool concept. Let's say, but sure if it fits the balance or is a... Yo, thank you for the raid, Brutal Richard. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Wildlander development and mod suggestion evaluation / hanging out. Yeah, could be, Kalak. Also, it's like a more niche thingy, maybe. Yes, much like mod list support. Yeah, spell creation is rad. There's a lot of there's a lot of mods out there that kind of attempt to streamline spell research, because there's obviously a lot that's good about it. It's just kind of very complex and like somewhat unintuitive. You need to kind of learn like a, watch a video and read a whole dissertation practically. Not sure if it fits the balance or is a good idea in our context. There's something else. What was it? Oh. Maybe. I'm gonna add, this one would be, I don't even know. Let's see. Show more labels. Minigames non-lethal. I guess it would be combat mechanics. And then it would be, oh my god. Not quality of life. Hard mode. That's the label that I wanted to add. And then we're going to remove this one. Gameplay mechanics. And, oops. I almost forgot. Lizzie will go through sometimes if I forget to actually move it, and she'll clean it up. Lizzie, the analogy that we use is, I go through and I make features and like whatever, and Lizzie follows behind me with a bucket, fixing anything or picking up anything that fell through the cracks. New improved model text more attention than the current. Oh yeah, I thought we used JS Dragon Claws, or is this a new one for? Do we not? This is, wait, hold on. Just because this is like the cool ass. This is it's probably my favorite scene in Wind Waker. Oh no, why did it mute? Okay, so this scene plays, for reference, when you're about to, you see your sister, and then Tetra comes in to remind you, like, you see your sister, and then Tetra's like, hey, this is great, but don't you have a fucking asshole to fight, right? And it kind of reminds you, and you're like, alright. I love, oh, that's so loud, sorry. Here we go. Ooh. Yeah. Such an epic moment. Here's the crime of Wind Waker, and maybe this happened because there was like cut content or whatever, but Tetra is the coolest iteration of Zelda, spoiler. And she really, it's half that they don't give her anything to do once like she's transformed, it's revealed that she's Zelda. She has to stay in like the hole. But also it feels kind of like her personality changes and she's way less like badass or like interesting. Whereas like Tetra is the best. Love Tetra. She's so fun and like funny, you know what I mean? Also, where's my freaking Tetra amiibo? Nintendo? Gotcha, Lizzie, that might be the case. JS Dragon Claws, let's make sure. Well, no, actually, well, at least this one seems like a separate one. Look at. Wait, yeah, so that's the old one. Damn. Damn! John Skyrim is just a legend. Wow. Look at that. Alright, does this require Anniversary Edition? It's too loud. Sorry, this is really annoying. Yeah, that's what I've heard, JJ. I've never been able to find any like evidence for it though. I've looked it up, and I've even like looked within the communities, and that's kind of just like what everyone says. And maybe it's because maybe in one of the interviews they said there was like cut content, but no one knows for sure like where it was, and that makes the most sense, is that it would be the third orb, or maybe there is evidence and I just don't remember, I haven't found it. Yeah, let's say this. Approved. Hell yeah. Item and object visuals. Get rid of you. on a move to... Whoopsie. Approved. Nice. Delicious. More player home options. Lore friendly, low hanging fruit implementation. Eh? More role playing friendly. Oh, interesting. No NPC homes can be completed after certain decisions are made. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it might, Lizzie, although I'm probably going to yeet the TNF ones, to be honest with you. And I could patch those. This is... Okay. Say, needs further assessment because compatibility... Wait, I'll say. Concerned about compatibility issues with player homes. Would it? Does it touch the compatibility? Oh, yeah, okay. This is actually what I was gonna write. I don't know. I feel like they would probably specifically try not to touch the player homes. Or warp, since it... Okay, I'm gonna adjust this. Say adds, allows the player to purchase the homes that become vacant after their owner NPCs die in quests or are otherwise indisposed. Concept of... I always thought this sounded like Luigi's Mansion, the beginning of this song. Doesn't it? You guys hear it? Let it go into the... Ah, gotcha. Yes, I mean, it does. It feels like cut content for sure. Now it sounds like Zelda. It sounds like it's going to start into Luigi's Mansion. Constantly reutilizing these spaces, but I'm concerned about compatibility issues with Brevard since it needs to do other things with unutilized NPCs. Say there is apparently an experimental patch in... Let's see here. Get rid of you, and you, and you. Did anyone post about it, perhaps? Oh, whoops. That's the wrong one. Do not clean. Can't see the sleeper. Wait. Oh, new VARP. What the hell? Sacroletius, what you been up to? New VARP. Cool. What a legend, Sacra. Well, hopefully. Either way, maybe we can patch it ourselves. Say, here's what we're gonna do. To need editing for use. For example, Mercer's house cannot be weighted in a keyword cell issue. Hey, get rid of you. More player home. Oops, man, I'm not good at this today. Needs further assessment. Move. Requiem unarmed combat takes unarmed build changeable weapons. Say. Defeats patch, cestus and claws. Say, so this one's tricky. Assessment. How do I put this? Love the concept of unarmed, obviously, but our skill system would require patching, which, it includes fist weapons like cestises, and that's not correct. Cestus and claws. Yeah, I don't know. That one's, it's like we have plans to make skills for like unarmed and things of that nature that would work very differently, so I'm not sure if this would be, you know, is this going to get us further along towards that, or is it going to be make it more difficult? Yeah, definitely. Combat mechanics. We'll say it's kind of skills related. And also new weapons. Skills, perks, and whatever. Wait, did I thought I just added that. Love this song. Hyrule Castle theme from Link to the Past is the inspiration. Not even inspiration, it is that song. Needs further assessment. Alright, cool. Remember lockpick angle. Easy mode. Players can remember where they were for the most part anyway. Eliminates. I don't know if I like this. Makes it easy. Too easy. Yeah. That's about the only difficult part of the lockpicking, is trying to get back to where you were before. Well. Say it declined. Cool concept, but I like the difficulty of needing to find the same spot. I'm gonna call this. What is it? Remember lockpick angle. Yeah, okay. I can mark it as an SKSE plugin as well. I thought so. I'm gonna call this quality of life, I guess. That's technically what it's trying to be. And I'd say it fits. Wow, very Link to the Past. Is when you get the Master Sword? Such a legendary song. God, it gives me chills, that music. Oh, this Elder reveal. Gotcha. Only music makes you feel that way. Just like up and down my spine, you know what I mean? Gotcha. It makes sense. Like the beginning splash screen. I feel like I've heard this somewhere before too, you know? Oh, God, the move interface is so weird. Assassin declined. Move. Why is it not, like, recommend more? Unlimited wood chopping. Chopping only 3 times annoying. Doesn't change the amount you get. Stop your character from stopping when you want to chop a million more. Oh, interesting. This is... I'm gonna... I can't search on the Nexus. Hold on. I was going to search... Hold on. Chop... No, Nexus... excuse me, say chop. Mining chopping 360. Oh, and 360-degree angle, huh? What I'm trying to do... Ooh, immersive tree chopping. So what I want to... My ideal kind of like implementation of wood chopping is that you just like go to do it and then you wait for a certain amount of time. Faster wood chopping animation. Instant movement, blah, blah, blah. I know there's a mechanic like that. Is it in here already? I'm going to search chop. Unlimited real-time gathering? Okay, cool. Yeah, wait. Oh. So how does this work? Do you... The one that I'm looking for, it's like you can start chopping and then you just wait. That's what I would like to do. Yeah, this song's amazing. Is it a fairy fountain? Yeah. So how do you do it? What's up, Rick? What's an apple pie Bailey, Lizzie? That I don't know what the name of the song is beyond Fairy Fountain, Daryl. Oh my god. That's a lot of gigs. That's too much. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember how you get them. It's like the fairy lady. 30 gigs is too much, bro. We're gonna have to renegotiate that your fee. Am I crazy? This would be cool. So many people, I mean, I'm sure why you do it, but it's like so many people will who English is not their first language. They'll say like something like completely coherent and even like just good English, and they're like, sorry for my English. I'm just like, bro, your English it's fantastic. Don't even stress. So I'm trying to specifically figure out if this allows you to do what I'm thinking of, which is wow, okay. That's an interesting way to organize that menu. Oh, that's cool, Rick. I mean, still, though. Am I crazy, Daryl? What does frog mean? Is that like someone, like French-Canadian person, or... Are we gonna get all the songs now? The Wind Waker song. That's one thing I didn't like about the Wind Waker, is the fact that the musical instrument is a conductor. Thematically, I think it's cool. Playing the songs is not as fun, because I like in Ocarina and Majora and the other ones where I can just go really fast. Oh, gotcha. There you go. Am I like missing this somehow? Oh, okay, yeah, it says it right there. I just gotta read. Okay, so real-time gathering is definitely like how I would prefer to do this. Didn't I add this at one point and people were like, what? And I had to take it back. Reading is hard. Real-time gathering. Yes. I'm going to say approved. This is my ideal implementation of... Yep, sounds about right, Lizzie. I'll make a tutorial for it next time around. Be like, hey, here's how it's going to work differently. This is my ideal implementation of chooping, mining. You start the action, then wait using the wait menu or speed up time to gain the resource. Just gotta make sure to tutorialize it, else players will get confused like the last time I tried to implement this. Lol. Save. And we're gonna call this one economy. I'm gonna call this jobs and professions as well. Religion is a blah 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 blah. I wouldn't exactly call it a mini game. This song's good. Is this like sad, what's his face? Prince? Oh, is it, Rick? That's good. I heard people were into it. It's scary whenever someone makes a new entry in like a beloved IP. Approved. Yep. Unlimited wood chopping. Chop it 3 times. Doesn't change the amount you get. Just stop your character from... Say declined. In favor of real-time gathering. Which basically does what... I'll say basically replicates this functionality anyway. Sage songs in the main menu theme. I have... Oh. This is a jam. Declined. We're gonna unlimited wood shopping. I guess it would be the same thing. Be like, well, we'll call it quality of life improvement, and we'll also call it. What did I? Jobs. Hold on. Show more. Jobs. Jobs and professions. Not horse riding. It gets laggy when you have this many visible. Jesus. That's fucked up, Lizzie. People are wild out there. I guess you can call it... What do I call it? Economy? Whatever. Doesn't matter. I declined it. Alright, well, we got through some. I'm getting through them faster these days. I've spent a bunch of time doing it, I guess you would hope. Ads, paperless shops. Yeah, say decline. Paper is already added, as Lizzie stated. Save. This is... Earth Temple? What is this? Maybe. Wind Temple? Yo, what's up, Moon? Declined. Crafting. We call that quality of life and crafting. Oops. Gets rid of you. Earth Temple, huh? Earth Temple's scary. Hey, more than 5, probably like 7, you know what I mean? When I'm off stream, I swear I can get through a lot more. Because I'm not, you know, as distracted. I would not say not entirely distracted. Entirely not distracted, rather. Look, high fantasy, 237. All right, I got 3 minutes. Oh yeah, I was looking at this. Say, I already tagged it too. High fantasy Whiterun. This is an interesting one. These look pretty cool. Some of the textures I'm a little like, I don't know about that one. Oh, look at this. It's pretty nice. It's a little Tylee right there at the bottom. Oh yeah, the ghost boss. It's not that fun. Accused you of being a bot. That's like the weird. It's also like the easiest thing to dispel or like realize. Oh yeah, could be that I guess, or just a regular recording that a bot is playing. Some of these are really nice. I just got to try it out. Say, needs further assessment. Looks pretty dank to me, but a couple of the textures give me some pause. Looks too warm, huh? Needs further assessment. Is this Makar? Wait, who plays the flute and who plays... Yeah, Makar plays the violin, right? Or no, Medley plays the harp and Makar plays the violin. Makes Lydia, again, your ultimate follower, companion and friend. I'm afraid I'm going to get some project leadership. Lydia, interesting. Uh-oh. Gotcha. Thank you, JJ. You're a Wind Waker information repository. Let's see. Okay, well, this will be our last one. Let's see what the voice acting sounds like. I always hate doing this on stream because I have just ridiculous standards. Not ridiculous, but like high, and I'm sure it's great.
Not alone, at least. Every guard that fought alongside you was just as much of a hero. But it's clear as day that you can hold your own in a skirmish.
Oh, interesting.
I shouldn't have doubted you in that regard. In fact, I should be grateful that out of everyone, Jarl Balgruuf made me your housecarl. It's good to get out of the walls, and you're not some stuck-up merchant. I can only imagine what it'd be like if he assigned me to guard Nazim.
Well, I like the writing, and actually the delivery is pretty good.
Exactly like him.
I mean, that's, you know, the meme comments are a little whatever.
You don't see any of them being made thane, though. I'm sorry, that wasn't directed at you. It's just that we've got a war going on all around us. Every day, men and women from all over Skyrim die fighting to keep the Empire together, or to free their homeland. And the Jarls are honoring merchants. It makes me sick to my stomach.
This is, well, and even the idea that she starts, like, you can see the writer included an arc, right? Where, like, very clearly she starts out thinking, like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, this random guy. Like, he couldn't have killed a dragon by himself. The problem is that we don't have the dragon kill that way, so we'd have to figure out how that's going to work. But this is a cut above most of the stuff that I hear.
I'm not brave enough for politics. My mother was a Nord, and my father was an Imperial. Hence the Nord job and the Cyrodiilic name. I couldn't turn on either of them. The Empire thinks they'll have a better chance of defeating the Elves if we're united, and the Stormcloaks think we need to start fighting sooner. Both sides are fighting for what they believe in.
It almost sounds like the beginning of each line has like a fade in, like it's quieter
even
slightly.
If it makes the whole thing incredibly pointless. That's the one issue I have with you being dubbed a Thane. In 100 years, they'll sing about how the Dragonborn saved Whiterun, not how Skyrim's sons and daughters fought for their homeland.
She strikes me as an actual VA.
It's a somber topic, but I'm glad we had this conversation. I don't want to sound ungrateful either.
Like, her delivery is really, this is quite good. And it could be. but you would probably be able to hear that. You can also tell that did it say something about her being a professional, new talented voice actor? I would not be. What she's doing as well is her pronunciation is very careful, and you don't. A lot of the time, like amateur VA, it's hard to do that. Pronunciation is hard. It's something that professional voice actors do that we almost take for granted. You won't realize it, but if you listen to a lot of like the amateur VA, you'll get takes where they've kind of like slurred through a word, right? I don't know, that I'm surprised. I did not expect, and even so the voice acting and then the concept of the writing too, like, again, this is a small snippet, but most of the time I'll be 10 seconds into listening to one of these and I already kind of know where I'm going with it. And with this one, I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm presuming, Lizzie, that they replace all of the original stuff. Otherwise, it would be kind of weird. Yeah. Yeah, so she starts out being like, yeah, fuck you. Oy. I know of it. Leap Day. I know one. There's the problem is I get like there's like several Serana kind of like add-ons. One of them is called Serana Dialogue add-on, I think, right? Oh no, that's the one you said. Then that's not the one I'm thinking of. There's like several of them, and I get them confused. And one of them seems to, or maybe several of them seem to kind of like change her personality. I would need to, kind of like evaluate that one. Same thing with this one, but I'm gonna make a note. And actually, I do have to go because I have some freelance I have to finish up before we do some stuff. That was Linda Belcher. Everyone knows for Mario. Needs further evaluation. This actually impressed me, at least the brief snippet I listened to. Replaces all of Lydia's dialogue with new VA and new writing topics. How do I put this? I'll put this here. Given the type of mod, I was skeptical per usual, but this actually impressed me. At least the brief snippet I listened to. I want to evaluate both the writing and the VA. Okay, cool. This would be NPC. Or wait. What is the... Don't I have like a... Hold on. No. What were my labels for... See, this is why I gotta change these around. New characters, dungeons... I'll say a new one should be character expansions. Nice. Create, and then I also need to adjust this one so it's like follower mechanics, not just followers. Cool. Then I can, it's not, there's like new like audio and sound improvements. I guess it would kind of like fit, but it's not really what I intended it for. I'll just leave it there because who cares. I can't tell Invix if you're taking the piss. If so, that's hilarious. Oh yeah, my keyboard's very loud and my voice is very low. All right. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for today. We made it through some, and I think we had a pretty fun discussion, if you ask me. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Sorry, I'm like adjusting. My back starts to hurt after a while. I'm sitting in this ye old chair. Not follower mechanics. And yeah, so I really appreciate it. I'm really going to be cranking through a lot of these. I had hoped to like have them sorted, but this week again just did not go according to plan. So I'm going to be sorting these ASAP, and then it's just like full speed ahead on the religion stuff that I'm doing. And I'll have more for you guys next week. All right. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope you had a good time. Let's see who's streaming. Who do we got? Refresh. Oh, I have a lot of. What do we got? No. Pause. I don't want to hear my own. Again, not any Skyrim people that I can see. Unless, am I missing anyone? Because sometimes my follows like reset, I find. Who did we raid last time? I think Jupiter Climb? No, Dragon Blitz. Why don't we raid? Okay, well, so we have two options here. We have, I think I mentioned her in previous streams. This Gameonisis is her handle. This is Janet Garcia. She's a games journalist who independent content creator as well. Does a bunch of stuff with like the Kind of Funny crew. She's really rad. Gaming and ISIS. Or we got Jupiter Climb, who's one of my favorite Castlevania speedrunners, who's really dope. So I'm gonna flip a coin. Actually, how about this? I'll let you guys vote on the game. Say poll. It's she's playing Yakuza Like a Dragon, and he's playing Castlevania Harmony of Dissonance. Say poll who to raid. We'll say wait, who to raid? Question mark. So responses: Janet Garcia, Yakuza Like a. Oh, I can't. Wow, you can't have that. Or Jupiter Climb Castlevania. All right, can't fit that all the way in, but you know what it is. 1 minute. Go for it. Oh, whoa, smut in chat. Where? Uh-oh, gaming and ISIS. I know I had comments on that already, but it's funny to me. All right, y'all. While you vote, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I said what I was going to be doing already. Oh, you know what I get to do today? Well, actually, I can't say. I'll say later, though. But I get to go do something fun today. And I'm excited about it. But that's why I have to finish this freelance work. I'm almost done with it, but I just got to make sure it's sorted, because otherwise I'll be in big trouble. Because I got deadlines, right? Because we're adults here. That's how it works. You have deadlines, and then you make cash, which is pretty good. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, per usual. And let's see who won this raid. Drum roll, please. Boom! Janet Garcia, Yakuza Like a Dragon. All right, y'all. Here we go. Gameonisis. Nice. Thank you for voting. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please take care of yourself. Yeah, 2 people voted. We did it. We got it. We're ready to raid. Janet's really cool. I think you guys will like her a lot. She's definitely one of my favorite kind of video game journalist content creators. All right, y'all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please stay safe. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week. I should be here, I believe. If I'm not, you'll hear from me. Sometimes I swear I don't even know. But I should be. So, yeah. Take care. Have fun. I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye. Goodbye, everybody.
Like...